Hello once again. Decided to jump straight in with another VOD review of the very same Shaco main. I'll try and do his name from memory again because I don't remember Korean names. 멘탈잡자으쌰으쌰, I believe. He is fairly undisputably the most successful Shaco main in any solo queue around the world. And I don't think there's much debate that makes him the best Shaco in the world. So we'll be watching how he jungles in this game, and where that gets him. Once again, the first thing to note is any high-level players around. Kongdu Monster's Guga, I believe is how you would pronounce that. That's Kongdu Monster's support. So him being on support means there's going to be some interesting plays to see in the bot lane. The Shy is a famous solo queue player in Korea. I believe he's different from the Shy as in the competitive player. So we'll see how this game goes. Being against the Jarvan is a matchup unlike the Elite game we watched last time, where Shaco can actually make some interesting proactive plays, even if he is outclassed by meta junglers like Jarvan in a number of ways. Yasuo mid lane is always interesting in Korea, because unlike NA there are lots of opportunities to punish it, especially if he continues to split push. But obviously Korean Yasuos are better than NA Yasuos, so they can snowball the game out of control more readily. Anyway, let's see how this goes. This time I actually have zero clue how this game turns out, since I'm spectating it essentially live.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Late invade, not too surprising. Looking for an opportunity to punish the off-meta nature of Shaco. He's probably going to go for the same style as last time, since Jarvan's level 2 ganks are likely more potent than Shaco. He doesn't want to give Jarvan any opportunities for it to become about the early ganks.
Minions have spawned.
Also, invading a Jarvan is just not a good idea, so any path that is optimal for avoiding that is what he's going to be going for. Just back and forth in the top lane. Nothing too dramatic. Should be a fairly standard early game. Shaco's going to go for a quick clear to compensate for Jarvan, who might go for a level 2 gank or might just clear. The best thing about Jarvan jungle, relative to most other junglers, is that Jarvan can sort of get away with doing whatever the hell he wants, even if it's not good. He has so many options, both in terms of builds and playstyle, that if you don't get any successful ganks off early game with Jarvan, it doesn't really matter. You can still hard farm quite fast, but not as fast as Shaco. So, unlike the Elise matchup, again, this is a matchup where Shaco can get advantages if things go his way. Not surprised to see Jarvan playing aggressively though. Jarvan is level 2, whereas Shaco is level 3 though. Which means that he can just fight Jarvan here. I don't know if red buff compensates for the level disadvantage, but Jarvan's gonna leave. Mid lane's gone, no pressure. Doesn't really lose anything for doing that. Running down into a gank when he's so low is reasonably possible with the cheeky late engage, late ignite. I mean, that's definitely worth it, but extra hilarious to watch. So, because of the ward coverage, he isn't at risk of losing his red or anything for that play, for that cheeky play. So he'll just go take that now. But Jarvan is ahead of him in gold now, I believe, even with the assist gold. But doesn't really matter. Well, Alistair ring down, yeah. Control ward, plenty of pots. Finish Targon's brace. Going over straight off the red is interesting. I thought he would continue to farm for a bit before going up, because I don't really see how this goes particularly well. It's very easy as Jace, as we just saw, to deal with that. I don't see much way to ever gank a Jace without yeah, not a Jace on blue side. Not without extra levels in Q, which you don't really want to take, and Mental never does. It weakens you clear too much, it's just less damage. Because for those who are unfamiliar with Shaco, since he's gone through several changes, his Q no longer does any damage of any kind. Extra ranks in Q entirely just increase your mobility. Interestingly, these time locks are actually providing outright spoilers. Huh. Is there a hotkey to change that? I'm not too used to spectating games, honestly. Like, I don't use the hotkeys or anything. It makes sense you want an early Tiamat off that successful gank. Again, he's not going to ever get to a point where his gank's just outright better than Jarvan's. But getting to a point where he can out-farm Jarvan means that when he does turn up for ganks, and if he does get into 2v2 skirmishes, he'll have more gold if nothing else, and probably more XP. And that can compensate for the disadvantages of just how strong Jarvan is. And Shaco's ganks aren't bad by any stretch. For someone with not reliable hard CCs, ganks are pretty fantastic, but I think his goal will just be to find good ganks without having to deal with Jarvan. And it's not like it could have been done about top lane. As we were saying, there's just no point going for the Jace. Honestly, a minor mistake there, I guess, is that if you have the ward coverage, you should generally use up explosive plants when you're going for an invade. I mean, it's always a 50-50 thing, but it's just good practice to, if you're in any controller situation, you remove explosive plants, which adds a huge amount of variability to any skirmish. Not that it really matters, Morgana will probably just flash out normally, even without the explosive plant. Once again, we see one of the best parts of that Shaco jungle, its ability to solo dragon pretty reliably. I'll take this and then do blue. I probably shouldn't keep referencing the previous VOD review, in case there's people here that haven't watched that one. But what can I do? I'm not going to cover every single minutia of Shaco jungle in every single individual VOD review. Talk about bot lane's matchup, because it's quite interesting. Morgana jungle is something you won't really see if you watch competitive play. You'll see it occasionally, it's not like a never picked thing, but there's not really many reasons to pick it in most matchups. But in solo queue there's a lot of interesting situations where you can use it, like directly into these Alistar matchups. The Black Shield offers a lot, and you can get Ardent Sensor on it, which is basically the check if it's a good support pick or not. I'm assuming she went... How do you even tell on this? What keystone did she run? Genuinely don't know how to check keystones on spectating mode. We'll check OPGG and find out what she run. We're doing this live, boys. So I thought so. She's running Stoneborn Pact, synergized with the Ardent Sensor and the CC of Morgana. That's generally the optimal pick at the moment. If anyone out there plays support and still goes Thunderlords for some reason, you can still go Thunderlords if you're playing a full AP Morgana, which doesn't offer as much for your team. But I mean, if you're gonna solo carry from support, you gotta make sacrifices. Yeah, generally that Ardent Center Stonewall Pact build you're gonna see more and more if you watch any support games with Morgana. At least until they hardcore nerf Ardent Center eventually, which is an inevitability at this point. These skirmishes are largely pointless. Jarvan is too mobile to be caught, same with Shaco. I know about diving this when Morgana's around. I actually don't know what the exact timing is for dodging Morgana's ultimate with Shaco ult. I mean, theoretically I'd be even dubious how possible it is outside of scripts, but it's a predictable timing, and he does miss it, but I don't think I've seen people hit it consistently ever.
Killing spree.
That was almost a misplay. He eat early, assuming that he would net the kill, but surprising level resistance. That zone control. I don't tell what was needed for them to get this tower. Oh, okay, no, did I miss the teleport? Was there teleport in vision? Okay. I see. Completely missed that teleport. That's why I'm not challenger in Korea. Again, that teleport from Jace was... There was a possibility he'd get it quicker than Rumble and clean up, but... I don't know, banking your teleports on misplays by your lane opponents is pretty cocky. So you probably shouldn't do that. Just a tip. And as per Korean games, the kills actually don't reflect accurate gold advantage. And I'll be the first one to say it, Morgana's ultimate's pretty busted. While we're watching Shaco, it'll be a good time to mention that most people don't know this, but Morgana's ultimate does provide True Sight. Meaning you can ult some very interesting champions and completely outplay them. Even up to some fairly high elos. A lot of people don't know that Morgana's ult provides True Sight, or don't really think about the consequences of that. It'll be very amusing if Mental here gets caught out by a Morgana ult at any point, considering he has played such a ridiculous amount of Shaco. But you never know. There's not really much to talk about with this game, in the sense that Jarvan is such a standard jungler. He's more or less a personification of standard roots and then ganks fairly reliably. You're never going to see a situation where Shaco is getting into these complex counter ganks against the Jarvan that pay off. But never you're going to see a situation where Jarvan is just stomping all over Shaco, because this isn't a obnoxious jungler with no counterplay or anything. Again, as long as they keep this dragon control, they can go pretty well. I am very curious that bot lane has not swapped on blue side though. They seem to be losing pretty reliably. And if they weren't top, they could have got this a fair bit earlier. I suppose they wanted to be around to contest the dragon, but then they didn't contest the dragon at all. Again, they're not going to defend this. They have the Rift Herald. Although it would have been a bit much, completely giving up bot lane and sending 4 top with a Rift Herald might have actually been the better rotation. You might have only needed Morgana or Zaya here to stop an inhib trade. Or make the inhib trade slow enough that you gain something from it. But I mean, they just all died to Yasuo, which is surprising, honestly. Top lane's going well enough that they shouldn't have let that happen. And yeah, that's just Alistar. And that damage is why you don't max heal on Shaco jungle.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
I think it's honestly the negative consequence of picking Jarvan compared to something as obnoxious as Elise. In solo queue, in particular. In competitive, it's much more comparable in strength, but Jarvan doesn't offer that same ability to dictate the game, to decide which lanes are going to get ahead and how much. I mean, what this has really snowballed out of is simply bot lane playing well. I haven't been watching it too closely, so I won't make any judgments, but I'm just assuming that Guga is better than everyone in this game. It's probably just carrying. But I really think that just in a number of... Although it looks like on the scoreboard it would look like they've punished the Rumble, but with how weak Rumble is, especially super early, and with such a strong laner in Jace, and with the fact, as I've said, you can't win these 2v2 skirmishes against meta junglers when you're playing Shaco without having some advantage in the laner. They really should have put more attention to punishing this top lane. I think there's several opportunities here where they could have probably pressured this inhib properly. Whereas they've made even objective trades when they had opportunities for comebacks. And that's why Jarvan's in the meta and Shaco isn't. Interestingly, since it's interesting to watch, there is some mechanical differences between how Korean Jarvans play versus how probably your average NA solo queue Jarvan plays. Although some NA Jarvans are perfectly capable of doing this. There's just a very good control of the limits, and the EQ is not always not used as with much emphasis on the knock-up. Because with damage, with your tankiness and your innate damage, good positioning and an ultimate is more than enough normally. This game really has been the Guga controlling the whole bot side of the map effortlessly show. And Shaco has actually played to that better than Jarvan has in terms of his focus of the map. Jarvan has tried to split his attention, whereas Shaco has almost just left Rumble to capitulate, which is the right decision in this sort of matchup. And because even though the scoreboard doesn't show it, Shaco has made a bigger impact towards his team winning than Jarvan has. Getting caught out there, it's just bad decision making, just happens. Well, that was good mechanical play, catching out the Morgana there. I know why I didn't save the E though. Perhaps he was worried about getting jungled by Lucy and didn't want to commit harder. But for those who don't know, Shaco, again, it's a very minute amount of difference, but E has been reoriented since the rework as an execute. Saving it is infinitely better than using it early. In these more frenetic games, it is true there's a perfectly good reason why you want to use it earlier, and you wouldn't say NA solo queue where you can hold it till the very last second. But just a little bit premature, I'd say, mechanically speaking. Which makes sense. See, there's a lot of pressure when you're versing highly meta champions at high elo. There's always the risk of flash outplays. Using an early E is better than using no E. So the lesson here is that when you're playing Shaco, how long you want to hold on to the E will depend heavily on your elo, and just being aware. An interesting point to know is that Shaco largely is using his boxes for vision more than catching out people. This is because, especially since the rework, but even prior to that, his E's were... W's. His boxes were not that reliable for CC, except for massing them in lanes. So when playing jungle with Shaco, and you're not maxing W, it's not really a CC mechanism, except in very situational micro plays. You're only looking to use them for vision. That was close. Jace continually broken, demonstrating the currently quite absurd ability of Displacement CC to move boxes around in order to avoid the CC. But that essentially gives them barrier control. Top lane was the only lane where the control actually really meant something. It's the CS and the kill lead. It's quite ridiculous. But again, blue side had points where they could push advantages, but those have long passed. curious. I mean, he couldn't really leave turret range without dying to Lucian, but that's sneaky. That's a cheeky play. I respect that. They've chosen to go hard for these kills rather than stop the inhib. I don't know about that one. Yeah, fast recall, he's out. Oh! Oh! That was clutch. I'll check his skill there. I think he could have done something even smarter there, which would have been interesting. His Q was up. Quick mechanical tip is that you can Q fast recall, and the fast recall will complete before your Q duration is over. But honestly, this game is, in a situation like this, a jungler, any jungler, but especially Shaco, is sort of in the position of being like a guy in a pregnancy. As in, a guy when his female partner is pregnant. He doesn't really have to do anything, but he should just be around in case he has to. You know what I mean? He's got to be there. He's not actually doing any of the work, but he's got to be there. In these sort of situations, all Shaco has to do is keep up in farm and be there for the smite objectives. Their map control is so oriented towards the vision control offered by Gugia and the potency of Yasuo in those 1v1s that Shaco just needs to mechanically play well enough that he's as much of a threat as Jarvan is. Shaco's normal role of providing kill pressure and map pressure is kind of negated by the fact his team is already doing it better. So I mean, he can help, but he's just sort of playing with his team. He is an extension of his team comp, he's not a key part of it. Again though, Alistar and Yasuo together is going to win this game, probably without the help of their teammates. That was a pretty good dodge. Yeah, that's all they need to do. That's essentially GG. It's interesting that Shaco's itemization favoured the fact that he was not really leading anything. He was not the source of damage, he was not the assassin of his team. So the GA makes a lot of sense in that context. Although the scores don't really demonstrate it, that was quite a one-sided game. In the sense that the map control was extremely one-sided. There was no, like you can see from the dragon count that if something was on bot side, it was under red side's control. There was no disputing that. From about 3 minutes in, Krugs was red side control. There was no way around that because Shaco decided to play so hard around his winning lanes, which was the better decision. Jarvan was left in a place where there was no necessarily good choice. It was very unlikely that he could compete with Shaco, even if he just outright plays better and does more. He's playing against a bot lane that's just wrecking pretty hard. So without your lane supporting you, you can't do much as a jungler. So I'd say the lesson from this game is sometimes what you have to do as a jungle isn't actually dictated by what you'd like to be doing or what you'd be strongest doing. Jarvan's strength over Shaco would be that he can pull off successful ganks in lanes where Shaco can't. Jarvan could pull off successful ganks even into the losing bot lane, whereas Shaco couldn't do that if the bot lane was just feeding. If Shaco was trying to up a losing lane, Shaco can't get those same guaranteed kills. However, sometimes the most important thing in reading a map is looking at how your lanes are going and what will be the outcome of that. Jarvan going down and pressuring gave his bot lane kills, it gave them gold, but it didn't give them the control of the map or objectives necessary to actually win the game. Whereas if he'd focused more time top lane, there's a real chance he would have. So, I guess that's the rundown of this game. Again, comment. Let me know if you want me to keep doing these, if the commentaries are all helpful. Any other Korean players you'd like to see? Any other weird champion mains? I was thinking of watching some Veigar Korean mains myself. If you want me to do commentaries on those, that's fine as well. Just let me know.